Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on May the 10th, 2022. I'm your host, Game Psychologist, and with me, as always, maybe having a screw loose.
Caffeine Rage. And no, I don't have a screw loose. My phone's working.
Touché. On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing a couple of games that we have played. Microsoft does a couple of neat things. WWE signs a deal for a new wrestling RPG. EA and FIFA break up. Square Enix embraces the Embracer Group. And if time allows, we'll have a Steam Discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing all right. Just possibly costing you money.
Thank you. I love it when you cost me money.
Yeah, you have me looking at bowls and trays.
Oh, yeah, those are nice. Put like some little labels on them.
Or Post-it notes whenever you're disassembling something.
Yeah, that would also work. Yeah, I like that. I like it. You're right. You probably cost me some money.
Or if you want to be really fancy, some of the some chalkboard labels.
Ooh. Have you ever seen the chalkboard paint?
Yes. And it's literally just paint with grit in it. You could make it pretty easily.
Well, all right. Good to know. But yes, you very well have almost certainly definitely cost me some money. But that's okay. These are useful. Sometimes you cost me money on things that are like I have no need for them, no use for them other than like, ooh. And granted, I'm a grown-ass man. I can ooh at whatever I want. But anyways. Yes. How have you been this week?
Or I guess 2 weeks now, right?
True. Last week I was not in a state of mind to record. I don't want to get super into it because I don't want to make myself feel even more sad about it. But in the United States, we are sliding backwards more quickly than many people would like with the whole Roe v. Wade deal. Mm-hmm. Anyone who wants to talk about it more, either because you don't live in the US or you're not as political as us, I would be willing to talk to you about it. But like last week, God, I got bombarded by a lot of people, understandably being very upset, very scared about what it could mean, both for the near future and for the distant future. And it all happened on Tuesday, and I just was like, I'm fried. I can't focus tonight. I just need to go to bed early.
Well, if you want to have a laugh / Susan Collins called 911 over abortion rights vandalism in front of her house. No. It gets better.
But also,
it's from Not the Onion. It was it was protesters writing messages on the sidewalk in chalk.
But also,
right.
You're right. That was the exact response I had. It's almost like you've known me for years and are like my best friend or something. You know me.
Not in that sense. No. Bad touch.
You don't know me in the biblical sense of the way they use the word no.
Well, considering the Bible, no means yes in that.
True. So anyways, yes, it has been 2 weeks since we have done a record. But it's been a good 2 weeks for you. Mostly, relatively. I've been here. I told you Sunday night when we had our man time driving trucks and stuff. We didn't because some of my games were installed on those external drives that were dead, so we didn't. We just talked. But
why would you install it on an external drive?
Because I just did. I don't know.
You didn't pay attention to what drive it was installing. It's just, that has enough space. Let's go for it.
Yeah, it's got more or less, yes. That's got enough space. It's fine. I know what
feel
the
like
speed.
I have a feeling that's why the hard drives had a lot more wear on it than what you thought.
I know what my C drive is, obviously, and my D drive, and then I've got two drives labeled.
What about your D drive in your computer?
Oh my! Then I've got two drives labeled A and B, and the A drive was the one that died, like is dead. That it had a head crash.
No wonder it crashed. You're using fucking floppy disks.
But yeah.
Oh, hang on. I need to explain. For those who don't know, back in the day, we used to have a 3D printed version of the save icon. Only it wasn't 3D printed. It's what the save icon was based on, called a floppy disk. They came in big black ones that Jared would have really liked.
Oh my!
And little more colorful ones that is more like the save icon. And this is why the boot drive on a computer is usually C, is that the floppy drives would be allocated automatically to A and B.
Yes. I had a big stack of big black D's.
Your poor wife.
I had colored ones as well. I had all of them.
Just checking. You do realize it's not politically correct to call them colored anymore, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have drives going all the way from A to I, so that's what, 9? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Yeah, 9. I have 9 drives.
No. Had.
I had 9 drives. Currently, I'm down to 6.
I think the reason why your drives failed is that you're slamming them a lot harder than you think, because you're just installing random shit to the external backup drives.
No, the backup drives A and B were left alone. It's purely for backup stuff. Now the rest of the drives, fuck it. Open season, my guy.
Obviously.
But I mean, like I talked about this more in depth on a Franken episode that'll be out whenever we need it. But it's just one of those things, like, it got built up over time. Like, I would just get a drive, and I'm like, well, I'll plug it in. I could use it for something. And then I have this giant spider's nest of USB cables and hubs and drives all, like, stacked up on top of each other. And it's like, I may have a problem. Oh, well. This would be a problem for future Jared. And I'm now future Jared. So thanks, past Jared.
So speaking of spider's nests.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the lovely people about a game that you played?
So I played a game. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. It's Satisfactory.
Hi-oh.
I know. I've made that joke to you a couple times already, but it never gets old to me.
Or me.
So Satisfactory, first-person Factorial-esque factory building game. And it's kind of sucked me in. And I've tried to get into this genre a few times. And I've bounced off a few times for various reasons. Factorial, partly because playing with people that were way above my skill level, and, it's just, what the hell, right?
Yeah.
But also Factorio has this mechanic in it that I really don't like, where it feels like it's punishing you for playing it because of the pollution mechanic.
Yeah.
And it felt overly punishing if you got bad luck on the world generation. Technically, I guess you could put RimWorld in this area as well, if you treat your colony like a factory. And obviously I absolutely love RimWorld. I've tried Craftopia, the MMO anime-esque one, and it had too much MMO in it for me, ironically enough, right?
Yeah. I liked Craftopia. I think I've talked about it on the show. I definitely talked about it to you.
Yeah, I played it actually before you did, but I just pretty much immediately bounced off of it because it was a little too MMO to me.
Yeah.
So, this is like try 3 on this genre with Satisfactory from actually the Humble Ukraine bundle. So, yeah, wasn't really sinking a lot into it. Just, yeah, I'll try this. And kind of, got sucked in. And I think part of it is that, one, it doesn't actively punish you for playing the game, which is nice. There is dangers. There are things you have to watch out for. And there are, areas that are pretty much off limits to you till, mid to late game. But I think part of it is the fact that, you could kind of play at your own pace, at least for now. This is an early access game, and pretty much everything I say about this game can change on the next update, because who knows, right?
Yeah.
So, Satisfactory is a factory building game where you're put down on an alien world to build essentially a space elevator. That's pretty much all the story they have so far. The story's not complete, and a lot of the story elements are just not in the game yet, which is probably my biggest demerit for the game, because a lot of the challenges in the game also spawn from these things that are in the game as placeholders. So, you have like 2 major alien artifacts that do weird shit whenever you're around them. And until you collect them, and the game's yelling at you essentially to collect them. But they don't do anything. And the only other resource that you can collect that, it doesn't even behave that way. The game actually ignores is power slugs that allow you to overclock a particular building to a degree, depending on what flavor of power slug you picked up.
Did you pick the yellow one or the red one? Did you get a gold one or a purple one? I can't remember all the colors.
Blue is the most common. And I've gotten one orange one, which, that was a battle, because I'm, went into it kind of underprepared, because I just have the rebar gun, because where I started, I'm way, way, way far away from oil.
The rebar gun is the single shot one? Okay.
Yeah, it's still very limited on the weapons. You have essentially the taser. Then you upgrade it to the bat taser, as in a taser that's shaped like a bat, not a bat taser like Batman.
Oh.
And then you eventually get the rebar gun. And it really depends on kind of your research as well. You have the Mayhem that is driving your research, but it depends on particular resources that you find. And some of them can be very, very annoying to find.
So there's 2 other weapons.
There's the rebar gun, more. And then there's just a rifle.
Yeah, I think they call it something else, because it's not a actual gun. I think it's like a rivet gun or something.
No, it's a rifle. Renamed it. It's a gun.
Okay, so it's just a straight up gun. I think that I can't remember, because it's been 2 years, but I got it, and there's a whole thing about you're not allowed to have real firearms. This is a converted construction tool or whatever. And then there's dynamite. You can get dynamite.
There's dynamite too, that and they're tied to different resource tech trees. Well, which, depending on how lucky and unlucky you might have issue with. Like I said, where I am, oil is way far away, so getting the rifle, which requires plastics for the circuit boards and also for the rubber to make the gun itself. Never mind the cartridges, which also require rubber. It's a bit of a hassle, so I'm just making do with the rebar gun for now, which is right.
Yeah,
but yeah, they just say straight out now, or I should say, at least from the wiki, because this is pretty much a wiki game. You can play it without it, but I can't imagine doing so. Really, right?
Yep. Although I will say, I've played through a lot of it without the wiki, because It's been in early access for 3 years, 4 years. It's been a while. It was in early access.
Well, there's some things that they don't explain very well, like the fluid dynamics. So, trying to think of a good way to say it. So, you start off with biomass generators. Yeah, essentially, you're burning leaves and then eventually wood, and compressing that down into biofuel to. Which the advantage of is that there's more energy per item, so you're doing it less often, and there's no way to automate that. Well, short of mods, which we'll get to mods. And then you progress to coal power, which is your kind of first set it and forget it thing. But short of sitting there and doing a lot of math on how much water is produced from a water pump, how the pipes work, because the pipes are a little counterintuitive, because a bank of coal power plants takes exactly the amount of water that 3 water pumps produce, but the 3 water pumps produce more water than can go through a Mark I pipe. So, right?
Yeah.
So, it's there is a community solution to that, and maybe it would have been able to figure it out eventually, but it's more just the fluids act a little strangely. Basically you have to run your water in a giant loop, so it kind of auto balances its flow out, because it will split the production. And essentially the pressure equalizers, and then you have stuff like head lift, where the water pumps could only push water so high, and if you start to get to a certain point, and also if you happen to connect a tank to it, to a fluid buffer to act as a buffer. Well, they don't tell you in game at all that the fluid buffer changes the amount of head lift that the system has based on the amount of water in the fluid buffer. They don't say anything about that. So I was having trouble with my coal system, because I was trying to get it over this slight hill, but because I had a fluid buffer connected, not even on the main line, on a side line, but because the game looks at the last item that I could see from a particular pipe, and the fluid buffer was technically closer than the pumps, it was using the head lift from the fluid buffer, even though it should have been pushing out, not in. Right?
Right.
So there's mechanics that can be very frustrating to run into if you don't start diving on the wiki a little bit. Which I'm sure that people that's been playing this a lot longer than me, and has gotten a lot further than me, are thinking me dumb for not realizing that. They don't say that anywhere in game.
Fluid dynamics weren't in the game the last time I played. I remember when that update came out, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'll have to start my world over, huh?" And then I never played again.
Well, they actually have a mod, which that kind of segues nicely into mods, that basically removed the fluid dynamics from the game, so I guess it wasn't particularly popular. So that essentially all the fluids act like gas, so that you don't have to worry about head lift and stuff like that. So, right? I'm not running that particular one because eventually figured out, just put a pump right there at the fluid buffers, because I wanted to have a fluid buffer kind of off on the side, so that whenever the system produces more fluid than what it needs, it would buffer out. Which it should have worked like I expected, but because game mechanics, right?
Yeah. Video game logic.
Ding.
Ding.
So I'm running 30 mods. the modding scene on this game is just unreal. And I would say that a majority of the mods are fairly well balanced. They're either cosmetic, they unlock something semi early, which the big offender that one game was that I think is BS. There's two. There's hiding the map behind a resource that is very rare to find, or at least very rare where I started. The game map, it's not procedurally generated at all, which might be a good thing. Actually, it probably is a good thing. But instead, you start in, you can choose in one of several different biomes, and then there's a radius that you can start in that biome that's actually pretty large. So I have it where I could have the map without hunting down a bunch of very rare resources that who knows how long it would take me. Right?
Yeah.
And the other one is allowing my health to reach into full. In the base game, you get the first 3 pips of your health regenerated, and that's it. You don't even get all the way back to half health. And the only way to get health back early on is hunt down berries that respawn very slowly. And, there's an enemy sitting right there on that berry bush, right?
Yeah.
It led to a lot of frustration, so I eventually just, got a regen mod that it regens slowly. It's not, take a hit, then, hide behind a boulder while scrape the jam off my face, like in Call of Duty.
Right.
But it's a supplement rather than, I have to eat all the time. But then there's, nice quality of life things. Like, one of the ones I absolutely love is modular load balancers, which I just really got to the research to be able to utilize pretty well. So the idea of load balancing is in the base game by using conveyor belt splitters and mergers. You can make it so that you could balance out a particular amount of resources to various directions in your area. But to some degree, but it could require a fair amount of spaghetti conveyor belts and splitters and such. This allows you to essentially just Lego together a bunch of splitters. And they have actually a fair amount of them now, of programmable ones that you could set flow rates, that sort of thing. But it's all fairly compact, but it still requires resources. It's actually more expensive to build that than it is to build several conveyor splitters and mergers, which is how they balance that. And that's how the balance goes for a lot of these. There's a deep miner that I just got that required a fair amount of high-end, at least for where I am, stuff to build, to be able to build one of them. And it requires a fair amount of power to run it. But it spits out semi-random resources on the low-tier things. Not a incredibly fast rate, but it spits out a lot of iron ore. Then occasionally it'll spit out some coal and maybe some copper ore. Then it'll spit out maybe some raw quartz, which is the primary reason why I have it. Might spit out some junk and just all filters down into a conveyor belt, right?
Yep. You're saying that's a mod, not a base. That's one of the mods
that's one of the mods.
Okay, I thought so, but I'm
talking about mods. It requires 500 rotors, 500 cables, 100 smart plating, which is a pain to make, and 250 modular frames.
It's very expensive. That's I think more expensive than 1 or 2 of the space elevator upgrades.
It's as expensive as the first space elevator upgrade on just the smart plating.
Yeah.
And that's just the Mark 1. There's a Mark 2 that's even more expensive. which gives those materials plus a few other ones, and it also spits out on 2 outputs instead of just 1. So essentially doubling the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Late game thing I have is craftable hard drives that I can't even access yet. Hard drives unlock alternate craft recipes that do different things. Like one of them that I do have is compressed coal. So you could take coal and sulfur and mix them together to make compressed coal, which allows each unit of coal, instead of burning over the course of like 3 seconds, now takes, I think it's 11 seconds, which, considering the amount of resources that you're pumping out, is a huge upgrade. And it makes it so that a single coal mine goes from be able to support 8 coal generators to like 18. If you have the right balance of sulfur to go with it. And this is a late game thing. I'm just looking at some of the other ones I have. And it's just, a lot of very late game quality of life things that are offset by very expensive as well. Which, to me, that feels balanced,
Yeah.
I'm just really impressed with the community. It is a pretty stable game. I haven't had any crashing issues at all, which is a nice change of pace. I guess my big issue with it overall is just that it is early access, so a lot of the optional challenges that you could run into, you run into them for an unfinished thing that will do something later on, which is neat and all, but at the same time, right? I don't need to fight a mini boss for work in progress orb, right?
Yep.
It does lead to a little bit of frustration.
Yeah, they've been work in progress since the beginning. I don't think any of the special resources have gotten any details about them at all. At least they hadn't when the last time that I had played.
Yeah,
Again,
the next update, which they're teasing right now. So I'm on the southern edge of the map, which is a pretty substantial map. I think it's like 30 square kilometers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're working on a big chunk in the extreme northern section. So, about as far away from my base as possible, right?
Of course. Got to get you a good road trip in.
Yeah, which there are vehicles. I have the tractor right now, which is loaded down with supplies and about to go in the completely opposite direction than I planned to, go tap some oil. So there is that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is one other thing, is I do have a road mod installed that I can build roads with concrete. And possibly my other issue with the game is there's no terrain deformation at all. There's nothing you can do to try to even things out or anything. You can build foundations, but you have to build them to such a height that any like unevenness in the terrain doesn't break through, which can lead to some frustration because some of the buildings are absolutely massive. I mean, you're building a space elevator, so that bottom of it is just huge.
Yeah,
and where I started, it's not too much of an issue, but there's a fair amount of rolling plains. So it's either, I have like floating things, which just irritate me. And I use resources to like build like pillars, which I actually did for like my main factory. I have like underneath it all, because it ended up floating slightly because the terrain kind of slipped down and I didn't notice it when I was putting down all the foundations. So I built a level up and then put on another floor for like iron production and everything. And it bugged me so much that I went downstairs and I just put like all these giant concrete pillars.
I do that. It bugs me. There are some things that I have left floating in the air because it's just like, fuck it, there's no other way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Or that, it would take me so long to make it look right it
I
would
mean,
just be a huge waste of time. So I
I
have
mean,
had
there
some
are.
things floating.
I mean, I do have like uh, foundations that are kind of embedded, or looks like they're precariously sitting on top of like a pillar that has a windmill on top, which is from the Refine Power mod. That uh, basically, when I got that, and I was putting windmills in like random locations, they don't say how close they can be before they start to, impacting one another. They do say that you can't just pack them right next to one another, but give no idea about the range. So I separated them pretty far from one another just to try to play it safe. So like there's this pillar that has a couple ladders going up it, leading to a foundation precariously sitting on top of it with a windmill up there, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't really need the windmills anymore, but a little bit of extra power production is always nice. Plus, they charge the batteries. Yeah, I
Plus,
have
they probably, if they look nice.
They actually don't look too bad. Occasionally, they'll bug out and they'll look like their drill bits spinning instead of like these futuristic wind turbines. But they're just airing out the blades, right?
Absolutely.
Blowing off all the dust, killing all the birds, giving everybody nearby cancer. Like you do.
As one does. Now, if they just throw some 5G signals in there.
Oh, no, the 5G is what you're using to ping all the resources. Did you know that?
Didn't know that. Well, good to know now. Good to know that I'm getting my daily 5G dose. All right. Is that all? Is that the bulk of it?
Yeah, I would say it's very worth playing right now, but just be careful because it's one of those games that has a lot of like small projects that kind of roll into big projects that, it's like, okay, I'll fire this up and do this, and this. And then suddenly it's, why is it so dark out?
Right.
It did I feed the cat? And the cat's sitting there tapping me on the shoulder. Hungry?
You didn't feed me, you big son of a bitch.
To be fair, the cat gaslights you anyway and acts like you haven't fed him, even if you did.
That's fair.
He's the Amber Heard of cats. He gaslights.
Oh, no.
At least he doesn't shit in the bed.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, the game that I have been playing that I'm going to talk about, because I've played several games since the last time we recorded, but the one that I'm going to talk about is The Sims 4. So I've had The Sims 4 for a long time. EA gave it away, I don't know, a few years ago. Yeah, at some point, several years ago. And it's just been kicking around in my Origin library for a while. They gave it away with one or maybe two of their content packs, like they call them stuff packs. Stuff packs have like extra items in them and stuff. So I don't have any. Well, I do have one. I bought the Star Wars expansion because it was on sale for like 50% off on Star Wars Day, which is still fucking expensive. They charge like premium prices for all of their shitty DLC packs, but that's always been a Sims problem. That's not a specifically Sims 4 problem. It's just a problem. So I've played the Star Wars. It's called Journey to Batuu. Plus the base game with the couple of little content expansion packs that they gave away when they gave the base game away. So Sims 4 I remember it being extremely maligned when it released. Partly because every time they release a new Sims, they reset all of the stuff so they can sell it to you again as DLC packs.
Again.
And also because they took away one of the Sims 3's biggest, most beloved feature, which was that the entire world was sort of one environment that your character could go to, as opposed to being instanced where you'd have to go to lots, essentially. If you want to go to the gym in Sims 3, you could walk your sim down the street to the gym, or you could just click on it and you could follow them as they ran down the street or hopped in their car or whatever that they had to get there. Whereas in Sims 4, it works like, to my knowledge, every other Sims game, be it the older PC games or the console ones or the mobile ones, that they're instances, little instances. So you click on the gym and you click travel here and you get a quick loading screen and then your sim is there where you have told them to travel. And those two things, which I totally understand. Like, I'm not saying that like it's not a big deal or whatever, because I do think it's bad whenever studios will try to resell you content that you already have or that should honestly just be included in the base game. Like pets, like, I mean, I know why they do it, because people want pets, so they'll pay money for it. But like, why the fuck in a game about simulating life do you not just give people pets out of the gate?
Money.
Right? Yeah. And then I do understand people being frustrated about taking away the sort of single open world experience of The Sims 3. The Sims 3 ran like hot garbage, even heavily modded, running bare minimum content packs, like anything other than just the base game, going bare minimum with that, using mods, still ran like hot garbage. It's a 32-bit game. It doesn't benefit from modern, increases in things like RAM. You do get a little bit of a boost if you have it installed on an SSD versus a hard disk, but it's still a long initial load and it bogs down really quickly. So for a performance standpoint, I honestly think I prefer The Sims 4's instances. Every once in a while, it bugs me. Now, I've played it, I don't know, 15-ish hours over the course of the last week. It's been the game I've played the most. And there's been a few times when it has bothered me. But mostly, I think it's fine. I tend to play my Sims in the way that I would like to live my own life, which is to never leave my house and just make shitloads of money, posting random stuff on the internet and writing like books and doing art.
About gay aliens and sexy adventures.
About sexy adventures with gay aliens. So I almost never left my house anyways in The Sims 3, and I don't do it much in The Sims 4 either. I have done it a little more. I'll talk about that in a minute with the Star Wars expansion or DLC or whatever. But there are some pretty big differences that change the play experience for the better in The Sims 4. The biggest three things, actually, that make The Sims 4, in my opinion, a better game than The Sims 3. The first is your Sims can now multitask, which sounds so simple, but it changes the game quite a lot. They can multitask sort of what I would consider basic tasks while they do complex ones in a way that just makes sense. Like previously, your Sims couldn't do things like talk and eat at the same time. So you would eat and then they would build their, social time talking to people. And now they can do both at the same time. They can talk and eat at the same time. Talking can be done alongside most tasks. Only certain like really complicated tasks will your Sims not talk, and it will queue up a talk action after they finish their complex action. Like if you're installing upgrades on your appliances, or if you're engaged in like if your Sims has got sort of a work from home style career, if they're working, they will not talk to other Sims. Like if you're if you're a programmer and you do game development and your Sim works from home, then they won't talk to other Sims while they're working. But pretty much the rest of the time, any two actions can be done in parallel, which makes a big difference to the way that you play the game, because then you don't have to think so much about like queuing up, like, okay, I need to do this so that my Sim will eat before they have a huge like mood drop because they're hungry, then go talk to whoever at the party to build my social skills. It's just like they do them both. It really is a big game changer. The second thing is that the AI is a lot smarter, and you get more options for how autonomous your Sims will be if you're not playing them. For starters, you can give the AI some basic parameters for when you're not playing the Sim. So you can set it to self-care, which is they will do the basics and not to not die and not be sad. They'll go to work, they will feed themselves, they will make sure all of their needs are being met, and otherwise, they won't really do anything that gets in the way. They won't make any major changes to the house. They cannot no longer get pregnant without you're setting it to do so, or you directly doing it, which was one thing that's really frustrating. Like if you left a sim, or if you had multiple sims in the same town, your sims, if you stopped playing a family unit and came back to it, sometimes you might have you would have a new kid or a new pet, or they would have changed careers, or it's like, no, I don't want that. I just wanted to press pause on this sim family for a little while. So they will still be in the world. You'll still see them out shopping or in the park or whatever. But for all intents and purposes, they are paused. They just do the minimum to take care of themselves. Then you can have them focus on career development. So jobs now, you have to do more than just go to your job to level up in the career, get promoted. You can do that, and eventually you'll get promoted if you do nothing different. But ways that you can speed up your promotions and unlock additional sort of bonus content is by completing tasks for your job. So it might be like level up your logic skill to whatever level, or complete daily tasks of so my character is a programmer, like my primary sim. And so one of her daily tasks is to, work on a game or work on an app or something. And so you spend X number of hours working on that as like a side project, and it gives you a faster promotion. And so you can set the AI to do those things on their own, and they will focus on career development and then taking care of themselves. So other tasks around the house, like they don't tidy it up as much, or maybe they don't water the plants, or maybe they don't focus on building up some other skills other than the ones related to their career, but they'll do that. Then there's another one that's some specific ones. Like if you've got a garden, you can have a sim be a gardener in the background. And so one of the sims in your household can be the gardener. You can set one of the sims to household tasks, and they will focus primarily on cooking and cleaning and making sure that when the things break down, they get repaired. There's a couple others, and there might be more that I haven't discovered yet. I've got a household of 4. I've got 2 married couples living together in a house.
Wow, you really do play it like real life.
Yeah, I've got 2 married couples living together in this little house. I'm designing a new house for them to buy and move into that's much larger and nicer. And that's the third thing that I want to talk about. So, first thing is that Sims can multitask. Second is that the AI is a lot better, gives you more options to control what they do, so that you don't have Sims completely ruining everything that you have set up for them because the AI is dumb. The third thing is that the system for designing and building houses and properties is way better. It's more intuitive. Everything works a little bit smoother. Even with just the base game, there were a lot more options in terms of decorations and paint colors and things like that. It's a really well done system that doesn't break down as much as The Sims 3 did. Anyone who's ever used it, I don't really know how to explain it any other way other than The Sims 3 was really janky, and it worked and it was fine, but because of some of those limitations of it being a 32-bit game, you only had, you're able to use 4 gigabytes of RAM, and the way that it would sort of preload everything, if you started building a big house, The Sims 3 would just grind to a halt. And I haven't had that issue with The Sims 4. I'm building a 2-story house with a basement, and it's gonna have a pool outdoors and a big garden area, and using some of the new stuff they've added, like a amateur observatory and some other things just thrown in there. Not having any issues out of it so far. So those 3 things. Oh, also with the building system, so you can change property lots between commercial and residential, and you can your character. So in The Sims 3, one or maybe some of the expansions were focused around owning businesses, but by default in The Sims 4, your character can operate a business. I haven't figured out if you can buy property, like business properties, but you can develop unused lots into businesses. And all you have to do, there's a big check down box. You can go over and you can say what type of property it is. And you can pick residential, commercial, public property. There's one other. I can't remember what the other one is. And then if you pick commercial, you can say what type of property you want it to be. So you want it to be a gym? Do you want it to be, a museum or a library? Do you want it to be some type of store? Because you have always been able to sell items that your character makes or grows, be they paintings or custom music or produce that you grow. In Sims 4, I don't know if there was one of these that existed in Sims 3 because there's so many expansion packs, but in the Sims 4, your character can also become a craftsman that does things like creates furniture and other sort of household items. So you can create a store that sells those items. And then, you could do a coffee shop or a restaurant or a gym or whatever. So there's all these categories for commercial properties, which I think is really cool. That's another thing I'm going to do is play with that system some more, but I've only messed with it a little bit. I haven't actually ran any of those properties. So overall, I think those things make The Sims 4 better than The Sims 3. I don't know how much base content has been added compared to when the game launched. I have not felt a real lack of any content except that your Sims can no longer, unless this is in one of the expansions, your Sims can no longer own cars. And on the one hand, I get it, because one of the main reason to own a car or a bike or something was in the open world, it might take your Sim all day to walk or run across town. And so you needed a car or a bike to be able to get through town quickly. The Sims is modeled after America, after all, where there's no public transportation. And that's not really an issue, since you basically instantly teleport from one location to another. But I think it would still be neat as part of the experience to be able to buy and own vehicles again. And I don't know if that's in one of the expansions or not. I haven't really looked at any of them except for the Star Wars expansion. So we're last week at time of recording. I guess it was last Wednesday, but last week at time of recording was Star Wars Day, May the 4th. And so for Star Wars Day, the Star Wars DLC was on sale. It's half off. And so I bought that and have been playing around on the Star Wars DLC some. And it's okay. The big focus, there's a lot of stuff. There's decorations you can get. You get a lightsaber and a blaster and droids and house decorations that are themed around Star Wars. Some of them with some really interesting, honestly, kind of game-breaking effects. But, it's The Sims. It's whatever. All that stuff is fine. They really have focused hard on a story. So there are scenarios that in the Star Wars world, and apparently in some of the other DLCs, that you can do, where that your Sim goes and basically abandons their old life for a while to complete essentially quests. And in this case, they're Star Wars themed quests. And The Sims is not made for that. And they really suck. Because it's just a lot of clicking around and waiting for your Sim to walk or run to wherever they're going.
Isn't that The Sims?
Yes, you are correct. That is The Sims. But the thing is that when it's kind of non-directive and you're just like, you're doing all the stuff, that makes it interesting because it's like a life sim. But if you're going to make it more of a directed, guided experience, there needed to be some more mechanics added to make it more than just like a really shitty, like, a point-and-click adventure game. So the quest rewards are neat, and if they weren't neat, I probably wouldn't be doing it at all. But you get lots of special Star Wars stuff from doing the quests. My Sim is a pickpocket now, because there's 3 series of quests, and this is based on the new trilogy. So it's the First Order, the Resistance, and then just sort of pirates. I think they're called the Scoundrels, which it has Hondo. If you're Clone Wars and Rebels fans, Hondo's in it. Very cool. I like Hondo.
I don't know what that is, so.
Yeah, he's the leader of the pirate faction in the game. And I'm like, oh, hey, it's Hondo. Cool. Um, but anyways, one of the rewards you get for doing one of the first story missions is you get like a pickpocket skill, and it steals 100 credits or simoleons. 100 credits if you're in Star Wars land, simoleons if you're playing just the regular Sims. You can pickpocket people. That's pretty neat. There's other skills. Like, I've looked up some of the content. There's some other skills that get added, and you can bring over some of your Star Wars stuff. But I mean, it's fine. If I had paid the full like $15 for it or whatever, I would have been probably a little miffed. But for like $6 or $7, I was like, okay, there's some neat Star Wars content. I got all the Star Wars stuff. It's literally the only money I've spent on The Sims because I got it for free. Like, I'm okay with this. But it's The Sims. There's a bajillion content, or not content. There's a bajillion DLCs, pets and vampires and college and whatever. Like, I'm sure eventually they will do kind of like what they did with The Sims 3, is they will have like occasionally they'll do huge sales on it. They'll never put all the content packs together, but occasionally they will do really big sales.
Yeah, The Sims 2 was far too good a deal to do that again.
Yeah. So if I keep playing, I'll pick up a content pack here or there. It's on sale on Steam right now, actually, but because they gave it away on the Epic Store, there's nothing on sale over there. So, or not Epic, shit, the Origin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on sale on Origin, so I saw it on Steam. I was like, oh, I might buy a content pack or two, and I go look, and they're not on sale, and I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm not paying full price for any of this shit.
Yeah, especially when even on sale, it's right?
Yeah. Oh,
I'm not sure if he still does it, but LGR used to do reviews on Sim stuff, and it was glorious.
Yeah. One thing that they did do was they took out the weird Sim Points store, which was the microtransactions that they added to The Sims 3. Mm-hmm. They took that out, which I am glad of, but I am shocked. I'm sure that there's been something else that's been replaced with that I'm just not engaging with because I don't do any of the social stuff in the launcher.
Yeah, it's called all the stuff packs now.
That's true. They do have a lot of air quotes stuff packs.
Well, don't they have like 3 different levels of it now? There's like the full-on expansions level stuff. There's the stuff packs and then the content packs. Oh, sorry, the kits. So, okay, so from my understanding, they have essentially the expansion level stuff, which is like cats and dogs, for example. The pet expansion, the university expansion, that sort of thing. Then they have the stuff packs, which are smaller, more focused on a particular theme, and have usually a few interesting things, but more or less a smaller, more condensed version of an expansion. Then they have the kits now, which are $5 a pop, and they're even smaller versions of that. And it looks like they're going a lot more on the kit model.
Yeah. So it looks like, expansion packs, you're right. Those are the big, air quotes, big DLCs. Game packs. That's what the Star Wars thing was a game pack.
Well, I missed the pack, but,
Let's see. In that, there's game packs. There's Sims 4 Vampires, Strangerville, The Star Wars Journey, Spa Day, Realm of Magic. So these seem like kind of gimmicky things. Because like the Star Wars one is 3 areas, each one themed around each of the Star Wars factions that are in there. And the little mission systems and items. So definitely not a full-blown like game expansion, but there's some stuff in there. It feels a little, meaty. And then there's the stuff packs, which are just, like you said, like little add-on items, furniture, clothes, stuff.
Yeah, then they have stuff, the like bowling night stuff, where somebody has it laid out. You get 32 new furniture items, bowling themed, 1 new floor tile, 2 new wallpapers, 3 hairstyles, 17 clothing items, and then the bowling activity / skill for your Sims.
Not gonna lie, I kind of want that. I like bowling. I've always enjoyed bowling. I'm not gonna buy it, but I want it. Maybe if it was like $2, I'd buy bowling night stuff for $2 or $3.
Mm. But then you get the kits, which are more like furniture, just of a particular theme and decor and clothing.
Yeah,
without like an overarching mechanic behind it.
Yeah. Sucks, man. Too expensive. Your shit's too expensive, EA.
Well, you don't want to spend 500, almost $600 on just DLC?
No. I do not.
Obviously not a FIFA player. Or sorry, FC club or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves on that one.
We are. But yeah, that's The Sims. Sims 4 is fine. It's on, let's see, it's on sale on Steam right now for, I think, $4.99. Hang on, Sims 4. Yeah, The Sims 4. The base game is $4.99. It's worth $4.99.
They do have a bundle with cats and dogs, so you can have pets, but that goes from $4.99 all the way up to almost, a little over $17 because the expansion's not nearly on sale.
Yeah, nope. But yeah, $4.99. It's fine. It's worth $4.99. Or what's in the digital deluxe edition? That's $5.99. What's in there?
A laser light show with decorations. Looks like mostly cosmetic stuff.
Okay.
But you do get the digital soundtrack, so you can have them go woohoo, right?
Listen to that shitty music. The Sims music is shitty. It's always been shitty. I turned the music off. Listen to my own music.
It's decent background music. How about that? But I don't know why anybody would listen to it as a soundtrack.
Yep. But yeah, The Sims 4, worth it at $4.99. If you look at the digital deluxe edition, you're like, oh, that looks like stuff I'm interested in. It's worth $5.99. Maybe buy a DLC or two.
Especially if it's on something that you enjoy.
Yeah. That's always kind of been the way to play The Sims anyways, though, is to buy the base game, buy the 1 or 2 expansions that you're interested in, and then just play it and enjoy it.
I mean, truth be told, it's kind of a hard sell to me on each expansion being $20. On sale, $20, I should say. But I would say the big ones would be like seasons, cats and dogs, so you'd have actual weather and changing seasons. Pets. Then pick the expansions that are big for you.
Yeah.
The university one. Ooh, that has some harsh reviews on it. Not nearly as good as the old university expansion looks like.
Wouldn't know. Don't have it.
Well, I'm just looking at the reviews on it.
Yeah.
I saw this kit, and I misread it and thought it said Lunchable kit, but it's some sort of fashion brand. Which it would have been a lot funnier if it was all Lunchable stuff.
It would have. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, that's The Sims 4.
Yeah, just don't go too far down the rabbit hole on Satisfactory or The Sims, right?
Like we did. It's 11:45. Granted, we had a lot of Franken recording before we got started, but
damn,
right? Well, let's move forward.
Well, I don't think we're gonna have to worry about Discovery Queue this week.
No. Definitely not. But yeah, let's move forward to our first news topic, which is kind of an amalgamation of a couple that I just said was Microsoft does neat things. So Microsoft did 2 neat things that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, the first one, I thought I grabbed the Microsoft actually did one other one, which was basically expanding upon the adaptive controller, and I thought I grabbed a link for that, but grab this instead, which is still neat. Allowing essentially to make their digital only consoles slightly less digital only, in theory.
Yes. So if I understand this correctly, when I read through it earlier, the digital only console will let you validate a disc, like with a code or something, and then you can have access to it if it's a game you've already purchased, or I assume also if you've purchased a game that is used or have had one given to you.
Okay, it's not quite that.
Okay.
It allows you, according to the patent, this is still early stages, to read the disc on a drive on essentially the local network to validate it for a digital only console. So, for example, let's say we have the Xbox, whatever random number they pill out of their ass next.
I think the One S is digital only.
Well, I was saying, since this is a patent, I'm going to assume that it's not going to be for this console generation, or it's going to be very late in it. So I was going to go for the next console generation.
Right. Okay. Fair play.
So let's say we have the Microsoft 3.14.
159.
Because it truly is endless.
Indeed.
And it's a digital only version of it. They have the disc version, they have the digital version like they have for this one. And you buy a disc. If this patent is in play for that, you'll be able to put the disc in your computer to validate it through an app on the computer. And then it'll sync to your account, and you'll be able to play it as long as you have the disc in your computer. Which leads to some interesting things, huh?
Yeah, so I only skimmed this earlier, so I thought that you could validate it once.
From what my reading of it, it seemed like it was a validation to activate it. So it puts the license in, and then you have to have the disc again.
Yeah.
But I could be mistaken on that one.
Let's see.
The second device may be queried to determine whether the second device is able to validate the user's ownership of the electronic content. The second device is able to validate the user's ownership of the electronic content. The first device is provided access to the electronic content. To me, that reads as long as you're able to read the disc, you have access to it. And the moment you don't, you lose access to it. But it's a bit different from having a key, which is a single-use item, and then it's discarded.
Just slightly farther down, it says Game Rant's reporting highlights an important point, though. This patent does not specify whether or not a license would be temporary or permanent. So
I would assume temporary.
Yeah, I was thinking permanent validation, but after spending a few more minutes with it, no, that makes more sense, and they would just do it as a temporary validation. It is still a good workaround. I still think this is more of a positive thing than a negative thing. Mm-hmm. There are some other implications there, although I don't think they...
Piracy will be an interesting one to deal with.
Yeah.
And I also do wonder, disk drives are going the way of the dodo. So, even, right, with computers in play, it's harder to find a computer with a disk drive. It's not impossible, but once again, I'm looking at this not for the current console generation. I'm looking at this, 5+ years down the road.
What do pre-built systems come with disk drives now? Not like gaming pre-builds, but quote unquote normal pre-builds. Let's. All right, I'm a middle-aged dad, literally. Let's say that I don't know anything about computers. I'm going to go over to Dell.com and I'm going to buy a computer. I need a new computer for my house. So desktop for home. I'm on Dell.com.
Dude, you're getting a Dell.
Dude. All right. Let's say I don't know anything. So I'm going to click on the first one. XPS. I know XPS is one of their like their mid to high tier PCs after they bought Alienware. All of these computers are being sold with a disk drive. Is that optional, or is that just part of the image they're using? Because all of the images have disk drives. As middle-aged and not computer savvy dad, I'm going to assume that it has a disk drive.
Let's just put it this way. I go to Best Buy, pre-built desktop computers. First one, Dell Inspiron 3880, has a disk drive on the thing, but then you click on it and you look at the fine print, DVD drive not included.
Yeah, it's on here on thedell.com. You can add one for $50, but it's not included. Okay.
Next one is a CyberPower PC. Let's just put it this way: pre-built desktop computers, no filtering on it whatsoever, goes from a fairly decent low range computer, or I should say low medium range. I'm not going too heavy into the specs to really look. $790 on clearance. Then the next one they show, or the next several they show, are over $2,000, and not a disk drive in sight. A lot of RGB.
Yeah, so looks like on thedell.com. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Thedell.com.
Oh, you truly are going clueless, Dad.
You can. There are no included disk drives. They're all optional, at least that I can see. All right, let's say I'm going to get a laptop from thedell.com. Products, laptops. Oh God, there's so many. View all laptops. I'm going to be an overwhelmed dad. I can tell you just by looking that none of these fuckers have got disk drives in them. They're too thin.
So, tell me, which one of these is made by Nintendo? I hear those Nintendos are real good.
Yeah, I hear the Nintendo was good. Do you have the green Nintendo, or do you have the Nintendo that's got the P on it?
Okay, let's have some fun. Desktop computers and all-in-one stuff. So an all-in-one Dell Inspiron with touchscreen. That doesn't look like it has a disk drive to me. And these all-in-ones are like perfect for the boomers, right?
Yes.
Let's put it this way. No, this all-in-one desktop does not include a DVD drive. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's a lot more rare than you thought it was, huh?
Yep. It really is. I thought that disk drives had gone the way of the dodo for high-end stuff, but I was going to go look and find them in, pre-built PCs for middle-aged people who don't know a lot about electronics. But no, they're all optional, at least on the Dell.com. Although I feel like that's probably pretty common everywhere. Regardless.
Oh, now I'm looking at this random one from HP that, it has a cutout for it, but I don't think it includes one without, having to buy it separately, which, who's going to do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got an external drive. I bet a lot more people have those than we realize, but I've got an external Blu-ray drive.
I have an internal Blu-ray drive that I killed the computer installing at one point. Well, no, that was the fans. Never mind.
I've got an internal Blu-ray drive in a box over there. I didn't put it in this new PC though, because I was like, I don't need that.
Wow,
well, not new, but when I built this PC, rebuilt it.
Okay, so this computer has a terabyte M.2 drive. I mean, that'll be quickly.
It will indeed. Okay. So yeah, still, I do think this is more positive than negative.
I could also see Microsoft selling a standalone drive checker, for fairly cheap. And its sole purpose is to just read the disk enough to see that you have it.
Yeah.
Which that's also kind of sad.
I mean, I really could see this being an app or something though. Like maybe not with the older games. Maybe with the older stuff, you would have to put it in a drive tray to validate it. But I could see just putting a little QR code on one disc, or on every disc, and that you'd scan it with your app, and it would validate it for X number of time, and then you could play it. And while it was validated on one device, all they would have to do is lock out that code so that it couldn't be validated for another device, or if you did, it would switch the validation. And that would be their quote unquote anti-piracy measure.
Well, since they specifically mentioned the disc, though, that's why I'm assuming that, instead of doing a code of some sort, they would sell essentially a cheap, DVD, Blu-ray, GIMP player that would be able to check the code on the disc,
Yeah.
Because, Blu-ray drives would actually come way down in price. So, getting to the point where they could be essentially a disposable thing, I could definitely see within, the next decade. To the point that DVD drives are now, Because a DVD drive is external CD DVD drive from Amazon, $17 consumer level with USB plug-in. That is essentially disposable at that point.
Yeah, they're very cheap.
So
but yeah, that was the first thing.
Yeah, I could definitely see them selling a external hook into the network drive to if they want to use this for a digital console and have that entire package be cheaper than the DVD whatever disc console version.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing that they did that was neat, Eve, that's Eve Online, and Microsoft Excel team up for spreadsheets in space.
Yeah, there was a lot of laughter about it, but I honestly think it's kind of cool.
I agree with you. I think it's cool.
Eve requires a lot of balancing of resources and such. So having it where you get exported into a Oh, hey, I actually found a computer that has a built-in DVD drive.
Yay! I found one.
It took me 3 pages to specifically find looking for it without having to buy it as an add-on. Sorry, I was still flipping through. But having all the information exported out in a not really an open format, but an easily convertible format because it's spitting it out as an Excel file. So there's plenty of tools out there to be able to convert that to something more open if you really need that. But having it where it spits out all the information in a very easy to read thing, I think this is a step in the right direction. And I actually moved up talking about Satisfactory to kind of tie it back into this where there's fan-made tools for Satisfactory where you can port in your save file and look at the map and see what you've uncovered and see all the nodes that you've discovered and resources that you've discovered and such, and get a nice top-down look at everything without having being in the game, because the problem with a first-person game like that is that it is first-person. You don't get that look down and see oh well, this is where my bottleneck is as easily. And one of the issues I was having was steel production, and be able to look at the map and see, oh, I discovered this node of iron down south, and I thought I had I tiled all of them into this one bus to feed these foundries. But there was this one node that I've uncovered and I looked at, but I didn't grab it because whenever you ping right on top of a mining node, it gets a little disorienting. So having the game actually spit out information, in a format that I could look at in a third party thing would have been nice. And it would be nice to see more games do this. I do know that sim racers do it a fair amount for, the multi-$1,000 cockpit enthusiast level people. For their attachments and stuff.
Yep.
It would be nice to see it come down to, the more layman, be able to have it where the game will spit out, even if it's just, a giant PNG of the overworld map and a list of what you're doing, right?
Yeah. I will say that EVE Online and Elite Dangerous, off the top of my head, there might be some other games that did this, made it really easy for you to get information out of the game. There have just been no sort of you can get it as an Excel spreadsheet. You have to, you have to use an API and some third-party tool that someone developed. And there have been issues in the past with EVE in particular where people created essentially bogus tools to steal information from players. Because that's EVE Online, but
where being a dick is not only happens, it's encouraged.
It is encouraged. But in Elite Dangerous, for example, there's a big one that's helps you track your exploration and your map data. And I did the last time I played EVE Online, or not EVE Online, Elite Dangerous, I did a massive exploration run to the center of the galaxy and then back to my sort of home base. And instead of using the in-game tools, which are fine, I used this tool that pulls a bunch of information from the API and then let me plan my map. And I could watch in real time as I was going from system to system on my second monitor, and plot changes to my route and update my exploration data on the fly with just a really, that's a really useful tool. But
that brings in something else, is games that don't use multi-monitor setups all that well.
Yeah. So, but you had to download a tool. You had to do go in and edit just one file. And that's not a lot for someone like me or you, but
Hey, you give me too much credit. I'm using the Satisfactory mod manager because it gets a little complex trying to install them all.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, but still, it's for someone who has no experience or who is really afraid to go in and alter their files, that could still be really daunting. So, just having support of push this button, spit out this data, helpful. That's helpful. So this is a good thing. But I do I love the partnership. Excel and EVE, since EVE is spreadsheet simulator of the game. But
I mean, it's like peanut butter and jelly, right?
Absolutely. Peanut butter and jelly, EVE Online, and Microsoft Excel.
Bacon and cheese.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you wanted to say about it?
Not really.
Okay. Our next news topic is the WWE signs a deal for a new wrestling RPG.
Yeah, this is either going to be terrible or amazing. And like I said before we started recording, there's no in between.
Yeah, so I'm sure, sort of by the law of averages, there has to have been a good or several good WWE games. I have just never played any of them.
I mean, honestly, a lot of the WWE games are very interchangeable, minus graphical improvements and, just the roster. Because, it's kind of the same thing over and over again, where it's the over-the-top fighting until, right?
Yeah.
But, really, what they're, the big thing about wrestling isn't the fighting, it's the over-the-top storylines and the over-the-top characters, which is somewhat portrayed in video games. But having an RPG, on the other hand, right?
Yeah.
They could go full ham. They could have the boss battles be absolutely insane, right?
Yeah. Give them special... make the special moves actually like, superpowers or like special abilities or something.
I mean, there is a very good chance that this is just going to be, phoned in, very, mediocre, essentially what they already do as a career mode game. But then there's that possibility that they can lean into it, right?
Yeah. I am not, nor have I ever been a big wrestling fan. I don't think it's like bad. I mean, the industry is bad. The industry's hot garbage.
Yeah,
most industries are hot garbage.
Yeah, yeah. I was a fan back in the '90s. Teenager, right?
Yeah.
And it was also the Attitude Era where, it was way over the top. I mean, it was like peak '90s, right?
Yep.
So I haven't watched wrestling in, a good 15, 20 years. Probably closer to 20, now that I think about it. So, whoever's wrestling now most likely don't know, most if not all of them. So, I don't really have a character that I'm really looking forward to. But having, kind of those wacky soap opera-esque twists and stories, that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, if they go full in and have it be cheesy,
Yeah.
Have it be cheesy, have it be fun, have it be goofy. This could be amazing. If they try to play it seriously. If they try to, make it be, no, this is a serious thing. This is, completely straight and narrow. No, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah. You're right. They're going to have to lean on the wackiness in order to make it, truly viable, I think. And if they do, that would be great. I think you're right. I think that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's just put it this way. I'm looking at a couple list of the best WWE, WWF wrestling games. And most of these are like, the PS1, PS2 era. So they haven't had really a home run in quite a while. Mostly because they started turning them out like EA does Battlefield.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, didn't they have to cancel the one... Not this year, but last year, because it was just so buggy that that just wasn't playable. And the year before that, there was severe issues, and there was a save wiping bug, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Is that the one that was because something about Y2K stuff? Like they didn't actually fix that. Is that one? That's the only problem I remember within the last couple of years, but I don't really pay attention to wrestling games.
I remember we mentioned it, and I'm blanking on exactly what it is. I think it was it was a game. It was because I think it was because it wasn't a Y2K issue. It was because after New Year's, the game rolled. The game saw the time rolled over to before it launched. It would refuse to launch.
That's it. Yep, you're right. Yeah. Which is why I was saying Y2K, because it was a clock-related issue, because that's all my brain could think of.
Yeah, and now I'm trying to double-check myself, because, right?
Yeah. You're good. Take all the time you need.
And there's just so... Let's just put it this way. There's WWE wrestlers coming out for video games very recently, so it's right.
Yeah,
but it kind of clouds searching for news about WWE video game. But I'm pretty sure that was it, or if that's not the issue, it was very similar to it. So they have had very interesting issues recently.
Yeah.
So there's also the possibility that they release essentially a Bethesda RPG.
Oh, that would be. Yeah, I'd be into that.
No, I was talking about just broken,
Oh,
broken, and I hope the community fixes it.
right. No, I do think back to your original point. I think that if it's gonna work, they have to they have to just lean into the silly aspects of wrestling.
Yeah, which Vince McMahon sometimes does and sometimes doesn't, right?
Yeah. So, fuck Vince McMahon. Uh, ready to go to our next topic?
Well, hey, if you want to, right?
Yes. All right.
But you do realize that after it, he's going to pull off the mask and it's going to be somebody completely different, right?
I know.
It's going to be like the Undertaker. He's going to choke slam you or something. Oh no! It's going to be Stephanie Sterling, and then he'll choke slam you.
Oh,
like you're a Tory.
They can choke slam me anytime. Just mwah. All right. Yeah. So next news topic: EA and FIFA break up.
Yeah. So it's always so sad to see long-term couples break up, right?
Yep. So sad.
Mm-hmm.
But they're gonna divvy up the stuff, and we'll see what happens afterwards.
So this is actually a lot bigger news topic than I think we're joking about, just because this is a 30-year exclusivity deal that has just ended.
Yep. So and also Americans, certainly there are diehard football fans in the United States. As an American, I have to say it that way, as you well know.
Well, let's put it this way. FIFA was number 12 in the U.S. for games stalled on consoles.
Actually, that's really, really high. I suppose it's been growing in popularity over the last few years. But anyways, still, compared to in America, sports like, American football, basketball, and baseball, I know that the NFL is like top dog in the US, and I don't know how all the rest of them rank together, but FIFA is not at the top, and I think people have focused on Madden and the NBA games over here for a long time. So I think this is a much larger news story than the average sort of American would think to look at it.
I mean, this is one of the biggest sports games out there.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way. The industry tracking firm MPD put FIFA 22 right between Far Cry 6 and Minecraft at number 12 in the US. Putting number 1 with Call of Duty Vanguard and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Madden NFL 22, which seems about right. Then Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they combined those two. So, I mean, that seems about right to me.
Yeah. So the reason they're doing this, EA seemed to indicate early on that it was due to a licensing issue, but didn't really give any specific details, whereas FIFA has came out and said that they're expanding their license to more developers, meaning that they are no longer going to be working exclusively with EA. EA gets FIFA one more year. There's going to be a FIFA 2023 or 2020. Yeah, 2023. And then after that, they will have FC, EA Sports FC, which I guess would be FIFA Cup?
Football Club.
Football Club. Oh, okay, Football Club.
Yeah, remember, they can't use FIFA.
Right, you're right. That's the licensing issue.
And mind you, okay, the FIFA name, whoever ends up, be able to call it FIFA 24 or whatever, they're only going to have licensing for the FIFA name and the World Cup, according to the stories I've read online. EA has brokered deals with all the different teams to be able to use their licenses and everything in the game. So whoever's buying into the FIFA licensing deal, is going to have a lot of work to do to be able to, keep the football rolling, right?
Maybe, although they might just transfer all those licenses over.
From what I understand, the FIFA deal is not a package deal for the football clubs.
Oh, that's interesting. In my head, what I was about to say, which I suppose that if that's correct, then this won't be true. But the way that I mentioned the podcast I listened to called Business Wars before, and a recent series that they did in the last few months was ESPN versus other sort of big news or big cable networks and their sports stuff. And essentially, the way that ESPN managed to lock down the NFL for so long was they convinced them to do a package deal so that they had all the licenses for all the teams through the NFL. And so that was my assumption, that it was just going to be, well, if you got FIFA, then you got everybody.
Well, EA said in the announcement, alongside our 300 plus licensed partners across the sport, we're ready to take on global football experiences to new heights. So that makes it sound like it's not a package deal.
Maybe not. I mean, on the one hand, good luck wrangling all of that. On the other hand, these are multi, 100 million or billion international corporations. Like, fuck them. They'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. And, it also makes me wonder what's going to happen with the microtransactions, right? Are they going to get even worse, or are they going to get better? I think I know the answer. I think it's going to get worse because, right?
I think EA's football clubs will get worse. I think that the next, whatever developer gets FIFA next will want to make a good impression, and so that they won't be as bad.
For at least a year.
Yeah, for at least 1 or 2 games. And then we'll see them probably ease, their foot down on it.
I mean, and that's the thing is that, give them an inch, and right?
Yep.
And we kind of scoffed at sports games for quite a while, not taking the attitude of they're not real gamers, but just, not for us. But this is a big deal. This is an absolute massive amounts of money being thrown around.
Yeah.
Yearly.
I don't think we've ever scoffed. I think scoffing is
overlooked. How about that?
Yeah, we've definitely said these are not for us. We don't pay attention to them. I don't think that's scoffing. That's just disinterest. But I mean, they always have been much larger than I think I realized. And at least when I was a much younger gamer, I did used to scoff at people who played sports games.
Yeah, from the sounds of it, it looks like EA has gone essentially around FIFA, and they've brokered deals with the individual leagues and teams. So basically, they cut FIFA out of their own game, and they'll probably have like the Global Cup or whatever instead of the World Cup, right?
Yeah,
because, like I said, from my understanding, that's what the big thing was with the FIFA license, was getting the World Cup, which, right?
Yeah.
Well, once again, that's the American in me talking. Football. To be fair, I say that about American football as well.
I was gonna say, I say that about pretty much every sport.
Or as I like to call it, advertisements interspersed with a game.
True.
Oh, I just cannot watch American football. It's not because the players. It's not because of the game. It's because there's so much advertising. It's like going on the web without an ad blocker.
Very true.
Advertisements coming in from every single thing. And then the instant replay sponsored by, right?
Yeah.
Oh. So speaking of sponsored by,
I don't. Sure. Square Enix embraces Embracer Group. That feels so weird to read.
It sounded better when I typed it out. What can I say?
Yeah.
Maybe I,
Hang on.
maybe I, maybe I should have been like Square Enix has embraced the Embracer Group. You need to go figure out who the fuck, right?
Yeah, I'm reopening all the links.
It's a holding company.
Yeah.
They're the ones that bought Gearbox, but Square Enix sold their IPs for pennies. They went very cheap, shockingly cheap. And from the sounds of it, there's one of these Crystal Dynamics Eidos will break even until new games release. It sounds like Square Enix has been siphoning off money, because there's no way that they have been running things this poorly. I mean, I realize the Avengers game was hot garbage. It was hot garbage before it even released. But they make it sound like they were barely getting by with everything, which is just mind-blowing with the IPs that they had.
I would believe that they were just barely getting by, because they had been like, they were complaining about how much they were struggling with, millions and millions of copies of like Tomb Raider sold and whatnot. I think that they're just very poorly managed, and this goes to show how poorly managed they are, because they not only did they sell off all of these IPs. Like, if they had to sell some IPs in order to keep the company afloat, to try some kind of new strategy, new developments, new whatever's fine. Like, companies do that all the time, and nobody pays attention or gives a shit. But they sold the farm to buy magic beans because they invested in NFTs, baby.
Oh, they're investing in NFTs, blockchain, and AI.
Just as the market on NFTs and cryptocurrency is taking a big nosedive.
Yeah. Their CEO has this sick obsession with the blockchain. I bet you he has a lot of bored monkeys, right? And that's probably where all the money's gone to, right?
Yep, he joined the Bored Ape Yacht Club, or bought the whole club or something.
I do have another article in this as well, asking, will Sony swoop in and grab Square Enix, which is an interesting take on things, considering they've been doing essentially a fire sale, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony or somebody else did, and we just haven't heard about it yet.
Or, it's behind the scenes still. Because that's the thing, right?
Yeah. I honestly really struggle to believe this. Like, obviously it's real. I do believe it. I'm so used to... Okay, let me back up a second. I'm not ever surprised whenever a company does something that's shitty or scammy to its customers.
Stupid.
Yeah. But usually, even if the decision is a, what I think of as like a bad decision, like, they're calculating like, how much money can we make? Is it worth it to do this or that? Like, how, show me the money. And cryptocurrency and NFTs are not where the money's. It's where the money's at if you were one of the very first people and now you've cashed out and you've grifted everybody else. It just is amazing to me that the CEO or the board or whoever, all the people involved in approving these decisions were like, yes, let's do this. Let's invest in a scam. Like, I guess that
although there are some places that are claiming no, they totally are selling off everything to invest in NFTs, right?
Yeah, I guess you can grift a rich fool as much as you can a poor one.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, it's been a focus of their Western stuff. So, Deus Ex, Tomb Raider. There's a list on here of who got what. And I'm struggling to find the actual list now.
Is it the Verge article? Square Enix is selling Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and its Western studios?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see. Square Enix is selling off its 3 major Western game studios along with the associated video game properties, which include Big name titles like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Thief. In total, Embracer is acquiring Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, which amounts to 1,100 employees across 3 studios and 8 global locations. Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, along with 50 back catalog games, among other games that are already in development.
We'll actually see Deus Ex, rebooted again and actually get a complete story, right?
Yeah. All right. So here's at least a few more games. So Hitman, Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, the Marvel games, Hitman.
Just Cause is staying with Square Enix.
Okay.
And as is Life is Strange.
And Outriders, whatever Outriders is.
That was their shitty ARPG, wasn't it?
Shit, dude, I don't know. Let's Google it. Outriders.
Online only cooperative action role playing third person shooter.
Oh, from Forbes, Outriders reveals it did not make a profit all year as World Slayer expansion looms. That's a Forbes article from 4 days ago. Doing great, Outriders.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Mixed reviews, 58% on Steam.
Yeah.
All right, now I need to go Steam charts. Outriders, Steam charts. Ooh. Ouch. Playing number as of 25 minutes ago, 738.
Well, that's honestly more than I expected.
An all-time peak in the last 24 hours of 1,307. All-time peak, I'm assuming either a launch or beta, was 125,000. Let's just put it this way. April was the all-time peak of 125,000. The next month, they lost 80% of their player base. And from June 2021 to today, they've only had 1 month where they've had more than 10,000 people at peak. And I'm assuming that was a big patch, and they immediately lost that again. So that's DOA. The big one, though, that nobody seems to be talking about out of all of this, Sleeping Dogs. I've seen this one brought up several places, and nobody seems to be saying exactly who got Sleeping Dogs or the Marvel games.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. I don't really give a shit about Marvel. Sleeping Dogs, on the other hand, was amazing. Well, for the time, at least. So, having a chance to actually get a sequel with a group that actually will, manage the company well. Ugh.
Yeah.
I really dislike the holding company idea and, having everything consolidated, but sometimes you get these companies that, get too big for their britches and, go all in on NFT and blockchain. So, maybe this is a good thing overall. I mean, okay, I shouldn't say good thing. A less bad thing than letting Square Enix do their thing. How about that?
Yep. I mean, Square Enix wasn't doing anything with or not doing well with a lot of these, so who knows? Maybe it will be a less bad thing. Why not?
Because I'm just... There was a big backlash early on in the year when I think it was the CEO was going all in on NFTs already. Trying to get people to buy in.
Yeah, I remember earlier this year when they released that press release or that memo or whatever it was.
So it shouldn't be surprising, but at the same time, right?
Yeah. It's beautiful though. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and Embracer Group is starting to get to be a kind of a crazy consolidation of things going on. Perfect World, well now Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal and Square Enix Montreal. They have Beamdog, which is Neverwinter Nights, or I should say the remake of it. and the remake of Baldur's Gate, and yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of flipping through their holdings, and it's just, damn, looks like my Steam library.
Right?
They have 3D Realms, which, yeah, back in the day, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're doing anything nowadays, but, once again, a legacy name that they could attach things to, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're the group that got Zen Studios. Remember Pinball FX?
Yeah.
They're them.
Okay.
So that less reassuring, right?
Less reassuring, but you never know what could happen.
New World Interactive.
Even if they did something like really shitty, I don't know how it could be worse. And like, yeah, I know, don't tip fate, whatever, like, fuck it.
Well, they also have Coffee Stain, so bring it back around to Satisfactory, right?
Didn't know they had Coffee Stain. Satisfactory is good, so...
Yeah, that was...
Well,
one of the early acquisitions. Let's put it this way. They bought Coffee Stain for 34 million, almost 35 million. Mind you, it's Square Enix, 100 times more. I mean, we are talking Tomb Raider here, right?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is I'm looking at some of these values on the acquisitions, and it still feels like, Square Enix must have some really shitty management. Either that, or they have like Hollywood booking,
Why not both?
I mean, we talked quite a bit whenever they originally talked about after the last Tomb Raider game of the trilogy, that it was a disappointment because it only sold like 8 million copies or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
What was their target? It was like 10 or 12 million.
Yeah, I think it was 10 million copies.
Yeah, it was just a stupid high number. And it makes me feel like there's like some money laundering going on in the background. There has to be something shady.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we don't have any evidence of that, but I wouldn't be surprised in the least. That's what so many, if not all, of these corporations do. Or not corporations, or maybe the people at the top of the corporations, like they just do whatever they want. Fuckers.
Yeah, they got Gearbox for 1.3 billion, right?
Yeah. I wish I had $1.3 billion. I wouldn't have it for very long. I would do a lot of shit with $1.3 billion.
Send glare bombs to half of Congress.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would do some frivolous shit with it, and that would be part of the frivolous shit. I would spend if I had $1.1 billion, I would spend $1 billion of it fixing problems with lots of things and places and people. And then
I wonder how much it would be for a cargo plane full of manure to dive bomb certain politicians' houses.
Dude, I would do that in a heartbeat. Even if it was $1 million, I'd have 100 million left over. Like, we're good. We're golden. Let's do this. Let's be gay and do crimes.
The airplane's just fluorescent rainbow colored.
Yes. And because I was rich, I'd get rich people justice, so I'd be okay. I could do crimes and get away with it.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, you're not Republican.
But I'm still rich. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or not. If you're rich, you get rich people justice. I would be rich, so I could get rich people justice.
Yeah, but it'd still cost you a lot of money.
Well, if I've got $100 million, I think I'd be okay. I mean, yes, I know, compared to governments, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But I could hold out in court.
Well, what also depends on who you piss off, right?
This is me. Let's be clear. I'm going to piss off a lot of people.
And the wrong people.
A lot of the wrong people.
Because, let's be honest, you'd break it.
But yeah, we both got quiet there for a minute, so unless you were just like intently reading something.
Well, I was trying to find a list of all their IPs, or what games that they have. But it just, everything's so focused on the Square Enix stuff that it's hard to find an overarching one. But yeah, I mean, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you don't want to do a doobly-doo.
No, it's it's getting pretty close to 1 at this point. It's 12:40.
Yeah.
So, but hey, Rage, where can they find us? How can they get in contact with us if they want to?
You can do so by going over to vglpodcast.podbean.com. Click the Discord over there. You could send us an email over at vglpodcast. Or you could tweet us, vglpodcast, on the Twitter. At least as long as that doesn't turn into much of a dumpster fire, we stick around there. Because, right?
Yep. But for now.
Yeah, for now. Right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
getting running out of steam, so... I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, occasionally tweeting Gaming with CR. You've been?
I've been me, Jared. You can find me on the Twitters for as long as we're still there. At JMA4707. You can find me playing in tabletop games over at twitch.tv/runicarts. Playing a crazy vampire man, an evil vampire man, or playing running a BattleTech themed game. You can also chat with me if you hit us up on Discord or whatever.
And as we scroll all the way back up to the top of the show notes, once again, you could reach us, vglpodcast@gmail.com, with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics. Tweet into us, VGL Podcast, or drop out the Discord, which you can find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com. And if you wish to share the love, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more about that over at patreon.com/VGL Podcast. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kim McLeod. You find his work over at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See ya.
Bye-bye.